Theda is one of the most widely influential scholars in the modern social sciences, and she is also active in public efforts, including the organization she founded and directs called the Scholar Strategy Network. Theda's talk today is based on a co-authored book chapter published in 2021 on the topic Community Organizing and Partisan Polarization, which we all know is clearly one of the most important research topics in the current era.
By April 15th of 2009, there were coordinated mass rallies on tax day in 542 counties across the United States. Other researchers put this data together out of news reports involving between 400,000 and 800,000 protesters. So you can see that this got going very quickly, and it was very important that it spread through right-wing media like wildfire. When I interviewed one man in Virginia a couple years later, he told me he'd heard about it right away on his car radio as he was driving around. The rallies were very colorful. They included mostly older white Americans dressed up as colonial protesters and carrying signs that denounced Barack Obama as both a communist and a fascist. There wasn't a great deal of subtlety or ideological positioning going on here, just anger and an attempt to attract media attention.
The chapter notes that both of the prominent movements that you write about, the Tea Party and the anti-Trump movement, were mostly middle-class whites promoting clashing visions. How do you think the relatively low historical widespread effective involvement of people of color and paternalism towards them in these kind of groups may affect how much they trust in their ability to be effective through American political structures?
The two movements that created these nationwide kind of local voluntary group waves were white middle class led with a heavy component of women, heavier on the resistance side. But that does not mean that Black Americans, in particular African Americans, have not been organized. I would argue that in the anti-Trump movement, African Americans were already organized in many ways through church networks, particularly, and these are women-led networks as well. If we go to the state of Alabama, for example, where one of the first kind of reactions to the Trump presidency was the surprise election of, I'm forgetting the senator's name, but a Democratic senator who had been active in the civil rights movement was elected over, admittedly a kind of probably a child predator that was run on the right, but nevertheless, a very conservative. Alabama is one of the most conservative states in the United States, and that was a coalition of Black-led, women-led church networks that also got their youngsters out, that had been there for a long time in the core areas of Alabama, cities and rural areas, with indivisible resistance groups in the kind of major cities led by the white women that I've discussed. So we shouldn't conclude that particularly African Americans were inactive in the anti-Trump period or now. It's just that their networks and their organizations are not the same ones.